Right, okay, good morning, A9. Apologies I can't be with you today, but we are going to have a great lesson nonetheless with this lovely PowerPoint where you'll hear my voice every now and then. So, your starter, first thing this morning, in your purple books, underneath, and I'm going to repeat this, underneath the work that you started yesterday, that exam question that we did near the end of the lesson, underneath that work, I would like you to answer the following questions. What do you think a key term actually is? And then I want you to list as many key terms that you can think of. Now, this is not a quick question. We will go over some of the answers on the next slide, but have a really good think. Key term. So, a key term is essentially words that are important to either a specific task or project or to the subject itself. So for example, in DT, materials are key terms. Processes that we use like wasting and fabrication, which we've not gone on to yet, but using tools, equipment, and also, again, subject-specific words that you wouldn't really hear necessarily in other subjects, such as ergonomics, aesthetics, or even function, because function really relates to DT. We design and make products which have a function. They have a specific purpose to do something. So now that you know this, I want you to take just a couple minutes, add to your list. Think of all the key terms, including things from our online learning, our sustainability little project. Think of all the key terms you can think of and add them to your list. Okay, so now these aren't all the answers, obviously. There are hundreds, but these are the ones that I could think of. And I'm not going to read them all out because you can read them. But these are just a few, and again, I've taken them from our recent project we've just done, the furniture project. I've taken them from our sustainability project with the amplifier. There you go, amplifier, that's a key term. I didn't even add it to the screen. But there are hundreds of them, and we need to get used to thinking about them, but most importantly, we need to get used to using them. So what are you going to do today? Some exam practice. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Boo! But I keep going on about exams, and I know you're only year 9, but it is a really important skill. Exam questions take skill to answer. Even if you have all the subject knowledge in your head, which, fabulous, great, you still need to know how to communicate that knowledge. So we're going to have a little practice today. It is with a new topic that we've not yet covered, so we're all on the same ground, but I think you're going to enjoy it. So the exam question that you're going to answer today, A9, is, using notes and sketches, describe the injection molding process. Using notes and sketches, describe the injection molding process. Worth 8 marks. Has anyone heard of this term before? And even if you haven't, could you take a logical guess as to what material it might be used with? Hint, hint, we have worked with this material and we've covered this material in a theory lesson. The answer is polymers. So if you said polymers, well done you. And when I say polymers, it's pretty much any polymers. So when we covered polymers, we looked at thermosetting and thermoforming. It could be used for both of those categories. However, if you did say metal, we don't injection mold with metal, as far as I'm aware, but we do mold with metals. But it's not the same process as what we're going to look at today. But even if you did say metal, well done. That's a good logical guess. So what I'd like you to do now, I'd like you to watch the YouTube video below. Please pay attention. Only watch it up to 1 minute 58. It's a long old video, it's 9 minutes. If you have time at the end of the lesson to watch the whole thing, brilliant. But just focus on the 1 minute 58 for now. There will be a task afterwards, so have your books at the ready. So, we're going to answer this question. We need to know, or we need to think about, how can we achieve those 8 marks? This is part of that skill that I was banging on about earlier. What key terms do you think you need to include in your notes to describe the injection molding process? What key terms do you think you'll need to add? Answer: the names of all the parts of the injection molding machine that you've just looked at, you've just watched over, but also the material that it uses. You could even suggest a product it might be used to manufacture or to make. Even do that to show extra subject knowledge. You could do that, but for now we're going to focus on the names of each part, and we're going to focus on the materials. So I'm going to ask you to watch the video again, but this time in your purple books I want you to make a list of those parts of the machine. Don't draw the diagram. You're going to draw the diagram next. I've got an image on the next slide of a much clearer diagram of the injection molder. Okay, so don't worry about drawing it. Worry about getting the names of each part of the machine and also the material. So we know it's polymer, but there's a particular stock form of polymer. So there's a particular form of polymer that goes into the machine. If you catch it, it's near the end. I think it's roughly 1 minute 55. If you catch the name of it, write it down. So, I'm a woman of my word. Task: using the notes you've just made, sketch the injection molder below into your purple books and label it. So in your exam, you'll have roughly 3 minutes to actually sketch the diagram. It might take you less. It doesn't need to be beautifully detailed, but it just needs to be clear enough to understand, and that's where the labels come in. So we're going to give you a little bit more than 3 minutes. I suggest between 5 and 10. Between 5 and 10, so maybe 7. But please, please, please draw in pencil. Don't draw in pen. Draw in pencil. If you don't have a pencil, there might be some in the green box on the side under the window, or ask people around you, but please don't draw in pen. We need to embed this habit of drawing in pencil, year 9. You can label in pen, however. So draw the diagram and add the labels. If I've missed any arrows in any little boxes, add whatever you did, whatever you jotted down from the video. Okie dokie. We've got our sketch. Whoop whoop. We've labelled it. Yay! We're showing good technical knowledge. We're showing good key terms. We're showing good understanding. What do we need to add now? What do we need to add now to ensure that we get those 8 marks? Have a think. What do we need to add now? Reread the question if you need to. Whoever said instructions, you are absolutely spot on. That's what you need to add next. So the exam question says use notes and sketches. Notes and sketches. So I'm not after essays here, guys. I'm after notes. Maybe full sentences or brief sentences, but they need to describe the injection molding process. And the best way to do that is just by writing instructions, step-by-step instructions, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. To do this, though, I'm not going to ask you to rewatch the video. I'm actually going to ask you to use a textbook. So at the back of the room, the greeny bluey textbooks, the front cover is on the screen if you're not too sure what it looks like. I'd like you to have that sketchbook, rewind, that textbook, maybe one between 2 would be great. And I'd like you to use page 195, 195, to add instructions to your diagrams, Now, you can copy this out word for word. I don't mind that. If you'd like to rewrite it and add some of your own words or your own terms or add some more details, you are also welcome to. But one of the important things here, guys, is the numbers. Do number the steps and the stages. Okie dokie. You should be pros by now, or at least have a really good idea of what you need to include in order to achieve 8 marks on this type of question. And this is a question that does pop up. Every exam there will be a using notes and sketches type of question, but the process that they're asking you to describe will always change. And sometimes the process can be a very, very simple process, which is why we're going to have a practice now. I'm going to ask you to answer this question in exam conditions. I'm going to ask you to answer the question in silence. Using notes and sketches, describe a wasting process. Now, before you start panicking, you don't know what wasting means, we've not covered that. We have covered wasting processes. A wasting process is just using tools and equipment to remove material, to shape material. So a great example of this is you using the craft knives to shape your card and your cardboard to size and shape for your prototypes we've just done. Literally that simple. Using a tool to shape a material and removing waste, that's a wasting process. So another example could be using a coping saw to cut a sheet of MDF, using the fret saws to cut a sheet of plywood, anything. If you're using a tool to remove material, that's a wasting process. So in exam conditions, so in silence, year 9, I'd like you to use notes and sketches to describe a wasting process. I'd like you to rewrite the question. We're still working underneath the work we've done. Obviously, you may have turned the page by now. You might need a new page. That's absolutely fine. But we're still using the same keywords or key terms that we've looked at. You might want to revisit that. Maybe you've written some words down that you think might relate to this. And if there's time, we're going to give you a very good 10 to 15 minutes for this question, just because I appreciate that you might want some time to reflect and to think about the describing processes, the wasting processes that we have used in school since year 9. So wasting process, removing material. How do you remove material? What are the tools you use, etc. So 10 to 15 minutes. Off you go. Congrats! If you got this far, that means you have been absolute legends. You've been silent when you've been asked, you've followed instructions, and you now have nothing to do. So, as a little extension, if you have got this far, what I'd like you to do now, in the textbooks, go back to pages 196, and there are 2 other polymer processes, extrusion and blow molding. Now, the reason these 2 processes are in the book are because they are 2 very common polymer processes. And again, this might be something that you're asked to describe using notes and or sketches. So I'd like you to create some notes based on these 2 polymer processes. The diagrams that are in the books, you will need to also copy those out and label them. Labels, guys, we like a label. Remember, anything you draw has to be in pencil, not pen. You label in pen. Yeah, that's it. So well done, thank you, and I will see you soon.